I sometimes think when I was a little kid, and I used to hang out with my grandfather, who was in his 90s, and I thought, Jesus, who the hell would want to live this long?
The emerald green meadows stretch endlessly beneath the California sunset. A flock of sheep grazes lazily while the salty ocean breeze carries the distant sound of waves crashing along the Carmel shore. This peaceful scene is Mission Ranch, the secluded refuge of one of Hollywood's most infamous and enigmatic men. That man is Clint Eastwood, once hailed as the immortal icon of Hollywood. But behind the gleam of the Oscar statuette lies a man marked by scars, a man once dropped by a major television network at the height of his fame, who lost the woman he truly loved, and who carries in his heart the loneliness of someone standing at the top with no one left beside him. And now at 95 years old, Clint lives alone on a California coastal ranch, despite many health problems, but still continues to contribute and live a meaningful life. So what is Clint Eastwood's life really like today? Behind the gates of Mission Ranch, has he finally found peace? Or are there still untold stories waiting to be revealed? In 1930, amid the shadow of the Great Depression that loomed over America, a baby boy was born into a poor working-class family in San Francisco. No one could have imagined that the child with the dark eyes and stern face would one day become Hollywood's ultimate symbol of stoic masculinity, Clint Eastwood. His life's journey from hardship to immortality stands as a powerful saga of resilience, endurance, and an unshakable belief in oneself. His father was a steelworker, his mother an accountant, both struggling to make ends meet. While other children were still busy playing, Clint had already stepped into the harsh reality of survival, working at a grocery store, serving as a beach lifeguard, even carrying golf clubs as a caddy for wealthy men in the suburbs. Those long, sun-scorched days forged in him a steely endurance, a stubborn will, and an instinct for survival qualities that would later define both his on-screen characters and his true self. Eastwood's life took a sharp turn when he joined the military, and by sheer coincidence found himself drawn into the world of cinema. At first, he appeared only in small, forgettable supporting roles barely noticed by audiences, yet his quiet patience and unrelenting determination kept him going. Then, in 1959, fortune finally knocked on his door. Rawhide, a CBS television series, brought the tall, brooding cowboy image of Eastwood into homes across America. From an unknown actor, he became a figure of intrigue, admired for his calm demeanor and those haunting eyes that seemed to hold the desolation of the Wild West. But Rawhide was only the beginning. As the wave of spaghetti westerns swept across Europe, Eastwood made a daring move. He left Hollywood for Italy to collaborate with director Sergio Leone. It was a decision that would change his life forever. With a fistful of dollars, 1964. For a few dollars more, 1965, and the good, the bad, and the ugly. 1966, Eastwood rose to global stardom. He no longer merely played the cowboy, he became the archetype. A man of few words, cold and detached, yet guided by a moral code that existed beyond the reach of the law. And when Dirty Harry premiered in 1971, Clint Eastwood moved from the legend of the West to the legend of the modern city, embodying the image of a defiant man hardened by life who took justice into his own hands. From that moment, he was no longer just an actor. He became the face of a generation. In the 1970s, Eastwood ventured into filmmaking, founding his own production company, Malpaso Productions. The name Malpaso, meaning bad step, was almost ironic since many thought his decision to direct was a reckless gamble. But within a few short years, the world would realize it was the wisest step he ever took. From the late 1970s to the 1990s, Michael Douglas reached the height of his career. He acted and produced, constantly challenging himself with complex roles, from the charming adventurer in Romancing the Stone 1984 to the ruthless businessman Gordon Gekko in Wall Street 1987, which earned him an Oscar and became a symbol of its time. Movies like Fatal Attraction, Basic Instinct, and The Game portrayed the modern American man strong yet lonely, rational yet vulnerable. In the 21st century, Douglas kept his momentum with Traffic 2000, Wonder Boys 2000, and his role as Hank Pym in Ant-Man 2015, securing his legacy as a timeless Hollywood icon. He also received accolades from the Golden Globes, BAFTA, and the National Medal of Arts, awarded by the President of the United States. And his honors did not end there. Eastwood was presented with the AFI Life Achievement Award, the French Legion of Honor, and the Golden Lion for Lifetime Achievement at the Venice Film Festival distinctions reserved for those who have shaped the very language of cinema itself. Every award he received was not only a testament to his artistic mastery, but also a symbol of an unyielding journey, that of a tireless storyteller who used film to capture both the darkness and the fragile beauty of the human soul. Not only a monument admired by critics, Clint Eastwood is also one of the rare men cherished by the public across generations. To audiences, he was never the kind of distant, unreachable star blinded by fame, but rather a model of authenticity, strength, and defiance. They loved him because his characters didn't need words. A single glance, a subtle gesture was enough to make viewers feel the pain, pride, and loneliness of a man struggling to remain human in a chaotic age. Yet behind the dazzling lights of the movie set, Clint Eastwood's life has been filled with sorrows that few truly understand. When fame reached its peak, it also came with a price paid through losses, unfulfilled loves, and years of aching loneliness. In 1964, Clint shocked the public when the press revealed that he had a child with actress Roxanne Tunis while still married to Maggie Johnson, the woman who had stood by him since the days when no one even knew his name. But rather than a scandal to those who truly understood him, it was simply the trace of a man lost between fame and the longing to be loved. Even after the good, the bad and the ugly turned him into a legend, Clint once said. Sometimes silence is the price of mistakes that can never be undone. During the 1970s, his life entered a new chapter with actress Sandra Locke, a woman both talented and fragile. They met on the set of The Outlaw Josie Wales, and from then on, they became one of Hollywood's most admired couples. But beyond the spotlight, they were two souls too much alike, strong, free-spirited, and deeply wounded. Their relationship lasted more than a decade, a mix of passion and conflict, and when it finally ended, both were left with scars that would never truly heal. In the years that followed, the media continued to tell stories about the long list of women who passed through Clint Eastwood's life. Yet behind every name lay more than just romance. They were fragments of a man's journey, a search for something he had never truly found a place to belong. It's said that he has 8 children with 6 different women, but to Clint himself, each child represents a piece of memory, a part of life he treasures, even if he was not always there as much as he wished. By 1996, Clint seemed to find a rare sense of peace beside Dina Ruiz, a television anchor 35 years his junior, gentle and calm like a musical note that softened the echoes of his past. Together they cared for Mission Ranch, the seaside estate where he rediscovered himself after so many storms. There, surrounded by the sound of waves and the scent of dew-covered grass, Clint was no longer the immortal icon of Hollywood, but simply an aging man, still learning how to love and forgive others and himself. But behind that idyllic image of marital happiness, the cracks had begun to form much earlier than anyone realized. After their marriage, Clint Eastwood kept to his old ways, silent, reserved, and emotionally distant, while Dinah was outgoing, affectionate, and expressive. That difference over time made her feel as though she was living beside a wall of cold stone. His silence gradually turned their marriage into a suffocating cage with no way out. In 2012, Dina drew public attention when she joined the reality show Mrs. Eastwood and Company, a program criticized for exposing the private life of a Hollywood legend. Not long after Hollywood buzzed again when Clint was spotted with another woman amid the glittering streets of Los Angeles, and almost instantly what had seemed like his most stable marriage came crashing down. The media, of course, devoured the story like vultures. Magazine headlines fired off like bullets. Clint Eastwood, the love addict who couldn't stop Hollywood's last Don Juan, and one particularly cruel tabloid sneered that he had never played the leading role in a decent love story. Yet through the storm of accusations, Clint remained absolutely silent. And that silence, instead of shielding him, only deepened the cracks in his once unshakable image. The public began to see him more clearly. Behind the calm, stoic facade was not only a proud man, but one who often ran from accountability, hiding behind the legendary mask he had built for himself. Beyond his personal life, Eastwood's outspoken views made him one of the most polarizing figures in Hollywood. He never hesitated to express his conservative stance or to speak bluntly about politics, morality, and gender topics that modern Hollywood, obsessed with playing safe, often avoids. Once, when asked about cancel culture and the so-called woke movement, Eastwood smirked and replied, "The world's gotten too sensitive. Everyone's afraid of making someone upset, so no one dares to tell the truth anymore." Those words cemented his reputation as a symbol of old-school conservatism, a great legend, yes, but one who now seemed out of place in a world that had changed too fast. A man both celebrated as a legend and condemned for his endless romantic scandals, one who once had every woman he desired. Clint Eastwood, in the twilight of his life, has returned to solitude at Mission Ranch, where only the sound of the ocean breeze, the bleating of sheep, and the silhouette of an old man remain beneath the vast sky he once conquered. In 1986, at the height of his fame but amid personal turmoil, Eastwood stumbled upon Mission Ranch, a weathered farm tucked along the shores of Carmel by the Sea, California. The 22-acre property was at the time little more than ruins, decaying wooden houses, withered meadows, and the lingering air of a forgotten past. Before Eastwood's arrival, the land had passed through many hands, from Spanish missionaries to post-World War II immigrants. By the 1940s and 1950s, Mission Ranch had fallen into disrepute, transformed into a seedy bar, a playground for soldiers and drifters. The Los Angeles Times once described it as a hideout for adulterers and vagrants, a stain that made the residents of Carmel wish the place would vanish from the town's map altogether. But when Eastwood learned the property was about to be demolished to make way for condominiums, he immediately bought it with his own money, not for profit, but because he saw it as the only way to save a fragment of the Old West's soul, the very essence that had once defined his own legend. After the purchase, Eastwood personally oversaw every detail of the restoration. He rebuilt the cottages, reseeded the pastures, restored the sheep pens, and revived the landscape to its original charm. When the work was complete, Mission Ranch was no longer a decaying relic. It had become a living emblem of classic California spirit, rustic, free, and enduring. The people of Carmel admitted that he had turned what was once an eyesore into a cultural landmark, a space that breathed both history and the quiet dignity of time itself. Unlike the lavish mansions of Hollywood elites, Mission Ranch under Eastwood's care embodied a kind of beauty that was humble, timeless, and profoundly refined. He never sought to make it a symbol of power, but rather a tribute to the authenticity of the old American West: simplicity, freedom, and resilience. Every interior detail was kept true to its origins. Raw oak furniture preserved scratches and traces of woodworm left untouched, all seen as sacred marks of age. Natural light poured through wide windows, spilling across long wooden tables, and a stone fireplace filling the rooms with warmth and calm expanse. No Oscars or red carpet photographs adorned the walls, only a few faded California landscapes, a piano, and the faint scent of damp wood that lingered like memory itself. Outside, the meadows stretch straight toward the Carmel shoreline, where sheep graze lazily under the sun, and the setting light paints the red-tiled rooftops in a golden cinematic hue. Many believe this very scene is the real-life set of an unwritten Western film. From time to time, Eastwood appears quietly on the porch, coffee cup in hand, his gaze fixed on the distant horizon, an image so still it makes anyone who sees it feel as though time itself has paused. Amid that tranquil setting, he restored the Mission Ranch restaurant, built from the old wooden frame of what was once a sheep barn. Inside, the space carries the spirit of the classic American West: high timber ceilings, warm yellow lamps, dark leather chairs, and a bar crafted from reclaimed farmwood. From every seat in the restaurant, guests can see the open pastures and the distant sea, a design Eastwood intentionally preserved so the space would always breathe with nature. The restaurant soon became one of Carmel's most iconic gathering spots, famous for its Sunday brunches and its nightly jazz performances. Locals say Eastwood personally curated the playlists, and on quiet evenings when no strangers were around, he would sometimes sit at the piano himself. But the Mission Ranch restaurant is more than a place to dine. It is the heart of the Carmel community. It regularly hosts weddings, charity fundraisers, and intimate gatherings of Eastwood's close friends, from fellow actors and directors to veterans he once served alongside in the military. Despite being owned by a Hollywood legend, there is no trace of ostentation. Staff members often recall that Eastwood forbade hanging photos of himself anywhere on the property and refused all guided tours, insisting this is a home, not a museum. Today, the Mission Ranch remains an essential stop for anyone visiting Carmel. Yet for those who truly understand, it is more than a restaurant. It is an extension of Clint Eastwood's soul, a place where he preserved the essence of the West, quiet, free, and unyielding against time. Now, in his twilight years, Eastwood chooses to live in seclusion at Mission Ranch, far from scandal's noise and the blinding glow of fame. He spends most of his days reading scripts, listening to jazz, and overseeing the small restaurant on his land. On weekends, travelers from around the world arrive in Carmel to enjoy breakfast outdoors, gazing over the vast meadows the man himself fought to protect. Locals say Eastwood still drives his old car into town, still sits at his favorite cafe, and still carries that calm composure so steady, it's hard to believe he was once the man who shook Hollywood to its core. For Clint Eastwood, Mission Ranch is not merely a residence, it is the sanctuary of his spirit, the place where he rediscovered himself after half a century of storms and acclaim. Amid the ocean breeze, the call of sheep, and the boundless California sky, it seems he has finally found what he spent his whole life seeking, the peace of the last cowboy in a fading legend of the West. However, behind the tranquil facade of that ranch life lay violent undercurrents, a storm of controversy and legal disputes that would unexpectedly pull Mission Ranch along with Clint Eastwood back into the whirlpool of scandal he had once tried so hard to escape. When Eastwood served as mayor of Carmel from 1986 to 1988, his image as the man of the people quickly began to crumble amid mounting evidence that he had used his public office to advance his own private interests. Only a few months after taking office, zoning restrictions around the Mission Ranch property, which he personally owned, were suddenly relaxed, paving the way for expansion and renovation projects that had previously been rejected by the former city administration. According to city council records obtained by the San Francisco Chronicle and Monterey County Weekly, Eastwood personally attended and voted on several measures that directly benefited him financially, including approvals for increased building capacity, construction permits, and exemptions from certain administrative fees. Several council members later confirmed that every meeting concerning zoning during that period was dominated by Eastwood's influence, noting that he never accepted no for an answer when it came to the ranch. A construction company that had worked on renovations at Mission Ranch was later discovered to have donated to Eastwood's mayoral campaign, forming an undeniable web of conflicts of interest. The people of Carmel, who had once hailed him as a hometown hero, began to turn their backs. Editorials grew merciless. Some dubbed him Dirty Harry of politics, a man who wielded power not to fight evil this time, but to protect his own empire. The controversies didn't end there. In 1997, a lawsuit exploded like a bomb in the heart of Hollywood. A wheelchair-bound woman filed a complaint accusing Mission Ranch of violating the Americans with Disabilities Act ADA, alleging that Eastwood's resort lacked proper accessibility and accommodations for the disabled. What seemed at first like a civil dispute soon escalated into a political and social firestorm because the man at the center wasn't just any businessman, but Clint Eastwood himself. This time, Eastwood didn't remain silent. He struck back fiercely, publicly accusing lawyers of exploiting disabled people for profit and declaring that such lawsuits were making America weaker. His words detonated a national uproar. The Guardian called him the last rebellious hero of Hollywood, while the Los Angeles Times and People magazine mocked the moment Clint Eastwood shot himself in the foot. What began as a local lawsuit soon reached the U.S. Senate, where Eastwood, as a private citizen, personally lobbied for an amendment to the ADA, one that would limit the ability of disabled individuals to sue small businesses. The move split America in two. Conservatives praised him as a champion of personal liberty, while human rights groups condemned him as the cowboy who turned his gun on the vulnerable. Ultimately, the case was settled privately, but its aftermath never faded. The once unshakable image of the righteous Western hero had been carved with a deep and lasting crack. In the public eye, Clint Eastwood was no longer the man who stood against injustice. He had become the man slowly consumed by his own power and pride. But few people know that, beyond Mission Ranch, Clint Eastwood still owns another world, one of luxury, refinement, and quiet power, a true reflection of a Hollywood titan hidden away in Pebble Beach. Eastwood purchased his Pebble Beach estate in 1994 for only $3.9 million, a 7-acre property overlooking the vast Pacific Ocean. The residence carries the charm of classic Spanish architecture, white stucco walls, red-tiled roofs, arched corridors, and dark wooden windows that open to the ocean breeze. Spanning more than 6,900 square feet, the villa includes 6 bedrooms, 7 bathrooms, a stone courtyard with a European-style fountain, and a garden lined with ancient cypress trees, each personally selected by Eastwood himself. Every corner of the house radiates a meditative calm detached from the outside world, as if time slows within its walls. What few realize is that Eastwood personally oversaw the home's renovation for nearly 2 years, even handpicking every roof tile to preserve what he called its naturally weathered red. He refused to install modern electronic security systems, relying instead on tall hedges and the land's natural contours to ensure absolute privacy, a rarity among California's ultra-wealthy elite. Neighbors recall seeing him drive his golf cart to the nearby Pebble Beach golf links, stopping occasionally to photograph the sunset, a ritual he has maintained for years. Today, the estate's value is estimated between $50 and $20 million, though, for Eastwood, it has never been about the price. If Mission Ranch symbolizes his legacy, his connection to the land, and the collective memory of the Old West, then Pebble Beach represents the other side of his soul, the place he chose. For silence, reflection, and reconciliation with himself. Though he has always projected an image of simplicity, Clint Eastwood is, in truth, a genuine car enthusiast, a passion that dates back to his youth in the 1950s, when he worked as a tow truck driver. His garage in Pebble Beach isn't loud or ostentatious like the showrooms of collectors. Instead, it feels more like a museum of memories, quiet and reverent. Inside, the soft clink of metal under the fading ocean light seems to echo the passing of a lifetime. In one corner sits a silver Mercedes-Benz W126, weathered but dignified, the very car he used to drive himself to film sets in the 1980s, when he first began directing. Its design is modest, its engine hums softly, a perfect reflection of the man himself, discreet, composed, and always in control. Nearby rests a mud-splattered Chevy Trailblazer, as if it had just returned from the Carmel fields. Eastwood keeps it not for its worth, but for its memories those early mornings when he drove it to check on the sheep at Mission Ranch. "This car works harder than I do," he once joked. Among all the rare automobiles, it's the only one that still carries the scent of grass soil and real life. Across the room stands a tiny Fiat 500, a gift from his daughter, the car he often drives around town on weekends. The sight of the silver-haired man maneuvering that little car through Carmel's quiet streets never fails to make locals smile, a rare glimpse of innocence within a living legend. Of all the vehicles tied to his film career, the Ford Gran Torino Sport holds the most meaning. It appeared alongside him in Gran Torino 2008, a film about redemption, loneliness, and honor. When production wrapped, Eastwood kept the car as though keeping part of the character's soul, not for display, but to occasionally sit in the driver's seat alone and silent, as if conversing with himself. At the center of the garage gleams a 1966 Ferrari 275 GTB, the crown jewel of his collection, valued at over $1.7 million. Its scarlet body still shines like a mirror, reflecting the face of its aging owner each time he approaches. Eastwood rarely drives it. He simply starts the engine once in a while to hear it roar, a sound he describes as enough to make an old man's heart beat faster than it should. Beside it, his Ferrari 308 GTB and 365 GT4BB sit quietly under silver covers, like dormant chapters of a life obsessed with precision. People often say Eastwood doesn't collect cars, he preserves memories through engines. Each vehicle is a fragment of his journey, the hardship of youth, the creative fire of his directing years, and the calm solitude of old age. And perhaps among all those gleaming machines, what he truly cherishes isn't speed, but the enduring feeling of having his hands on the wheel of his own life. Alongside his love of cars, Clint Eastwood has a deep passion for classic timepieces, a fascination he calls the art of precision and patience. His collection includes legendary names like Rolex, Submariner, A-Lang and Sona, and IWC Big Pilot, all chosen not for their market value, but for the stories behind them. Each watch marks a different chapter of his life: the Submariner he wore while filming Dirty Harry, the IWC gifted to him after winning the Oscar for Unforgiven, and the A-Lang and Sona he bought after his 80th birthday to remind myself that I still have time. Beyond watches, Eastwood owns the yacht Beatrix, a sleek vessel often moored in the Monterey Harbor, where he occasionally sails alone in the misty mornings. The 20-meter yacht features walnut-paneled interiors and a main cabin adorned with black and white photos of his younger days. Out at sea, he prefers to captain it himself. No crew, just wine water, and the low, steady pulse of the engine echoing like the heartbeat of an aging yet unwavering man. He also owns a private helicopter, which he uses to travel between Carmel, Los Angeles, and film sets. For most people, it's a privilege of the elite. For Eastwood, it's simply a way to shorten the distance between the places he belongs, freedom work, and silence. With such wealth and an apparently luxurious lifestyle, many wonder, after decades walking the fine line between art and authority, where does Clint Eastwood's immense fortune truly come from? His net worth is currently estimated at around $400 million, a staggering figure for someone who began life in poverty. Born amid the Great Depression, Eastwood worked every odd job imaginable: lifeguard, grocery clerk, even golf caddy carrying clubs for the rich, a world he never thought he'd belong to. Every dollar he earned came through sweat, but those years taught him the value of labor discipline and self-reliance. When he began acting in Rawhide in 1959, he earned just $750 per episode, a modest amount lower than many of his peers. Yet Eastwood never saw that as failure, only as a foundation. He threw himself into the craft, learning from directors, camera operators, and editors. By the time Rawhide became a sensation, he was already preparing for something far greater, something no one expected. By 1983, when he starred in Sudden Impact, Eastwood commanded $30 million, a record-breaking salary for that era. It wasn't just payment for fame, but the result of his bold financial strategy. He owned the films he made. From early on, Eastwood understood that in Hollywood, creative freedom belongs only to those who control the money. Thus, in 1967, he founded Malpaso Productions, his own studio. Through it, Eastwood directed, produced, and starred in his projects, overseeing everything from script to post-production, a rare level of control at the time. Each of his films was not only a work of art, but also a meticulously calculated investment. That fusion of artistic instinct and business acumen elevated him to legendary status. To date, the films bearing his imprint, from Dirty Harry to Million Dollar Baby, have grossed over $6 billion worldwide, securing his place as Hollywood's quietest and most commanding power player. Beyond cinema, Clint Eastwood has also proven himself to be a shrewd and seasoned investor. He holds shares in Tahama Golf Club, one of the most luxurious golf courses in the American West, frequented by elite business leaders and artists alike. In addition, Eastwood has made substantial investments in real estate across Carmel and Pebble Beach prime stretches of California's coastline that have skyrocketed in value over the decades. Alongside his massive earnings from film royalties, he once earned $2 million for narrating the Chrysler Super Bowl commercial, It's Halftime America. 2012, a short film that instantly became a symbol of America's resilience and rebirth after the financial crisis. Every financial move Eastwood has made underscores one truth: he is not merely a storyteller on screen, but a man who fully understands the inner workings of the Hollywood empire. Yet, amid the staggering numbers and multi-million-dollar deals, Eastwood has shown that his success isn't just about accumulation. A significant portion of his fortune has been devoted to charity and community work. He is a longtime supporter of the Eastwood Ranch Foundation, founded by his daughter Allison Eastwood, which rescues abandoned animals, cares for wildlife, and protects natural habitats across California. Beyond donations, Eastwood has provided direct logistical support, funding expansions, helping build rehabilitation facilities, and supporting training programs for injured animals. Simultaneously, he serves as a key member of the Monterey Peninsula Foundation, the charitable organization behind the prestigious AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am golf tournament, where Eastwood acts not only as host, but as the event's symbolic soul. Under his guidance and that of his partners, the foundation has raised over $135 million to fund education, healthcare, and community programs throughout the American West. In a 2006 internal board meeting, Eastwood reportedly proposed setting aside a special fund for Mexican-American students, saying quietly, "Because those are the kids America has forgotten." He has also quietly supported the Red Cross Make-A-Wish Foundation, City of Hope, and Artists for Peace and Justice. After the 9/11 attacks, Eastwood was among the first artists to donate money to the families of fallen firefighters, yet he insisted that his name not appear on the donor list. Perhaps for that same reason, few people know he also secretly funded scholarships for the children of war veterans, those long forgotten by America's welfare system. For Eastwood, charity has never been about recognition. It is simply the natural duty of a man who has enough to give back. Now, in his 90s, he lives quietly at Mission Ranch, surrounded by meadows and the sound of the ocean breeze, as if all the glory and the guilt have long been carried away by the wind. Yet each time the screen fades to black and the soft hum of jazz drifts through the little restaurant in Carmel, people still remember him, the man who turned his entire life into a film that never truly ended. And so, the story of Clint Eastwood closes not merely with a collection of classic films, but with a life full of contradictions where light and shadow forever walk side by side. For more than 6 decades, he has been both Hollywood's proudest symbol of masculinity and the man who kept tabloids in a frenzy with his affairs controversies and unending rumors. They say no one in Hollywood can be both idolized and scrutinized to such extremes, but Clint Eastwood could. If you want to uncover more untold secrets of Hollywood legends from its dazzling lights to its darkest corners, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. See you in the next video.